Howdy, folks. Nobody cares about you. Let me tell you what I mean by that. My name is Lottie Loetta. I'm a storytelling teacher and coach in Austin, Texas. I run a storytelling school called the Storytellers Studio and a couple of shows here, Testify and the Austin Story Slam. And I want to talk about a storytelling habit that most people do, a lot of people do, maybe not most, a significant portion of people do. Let's go with that. And we think it actually helps, but it doesn't. It pushes your audience away. And that is the term you. You, the generic you in a story. And you know what I mean. I just did it when I say, you know what I mean. You may not know what I mean. You may not know what I'm thinking. I'm going to clarify it for you though. Sometimes when a person is telling a story, they will say things, you know what it's like. You know how it feels. You understand why this is wrong. And your audience may not. Keep in mind, you don't know them. They are not you. You can't decide what's important to them, what they think, or what they feel. So when you assume that you are the harbinger of everything and you understand everything and everyone is the same as you, you lose your audience. The problem with the generic you is you're assuming a shared experience, but there isn't one. There is no universal emotional response to anything. Everyone feels differently. In one of our classes, we had a student who was talking about COVID. He had a story about COVID. He was saying, everyone knows how horrible it was being stuck at home. And I raised my hand. I said, that is not my experience with COVID. Now, don't get me wrong. I got my shots. I wore my mask. I didn't want to get sick. I did. I got COVID several times. But I did my best to make sure I didn't. But that is not my experience of COVID. As a world-class introvert, me being stuck at home with my partner, cooking, eating, reading, watching movies for a year, it was fantastic. Oh, I loved every moment of it. So when he said, everyone understands how it was horrible being home, well, that's not my experience at all. And as far as I'm concerned, the rest of his story is not for me. Why would I listen to it? He is already basing the whole thing on a premise that makes no sense to me. What would change that? Well, what changes it is changing the you to I. Now, I understand why people use you because it's less vulnerable. It's less personable. You feel a little safer when you're pretending like the whole audience feels this way. Well, it's not true though. And the truth is what's going to matter in your story. When you say you, it does allow you to distance yourself from your feelings. You're able to distance yourself from your emotions and pretty much everything else in your story because you think you're describing what the audience feels. But that's not the truth. The truth is the vulnerability is what makes your story interesting. The personalness of your story is what makes it interesting. Yes, this guy was living an experience that I did not have with COVID. And my experience was simply something that he could not acknowledge. It made no sense to him that someone would actually enjoy being stuck at home, not seeing anybody else's face for a year. He couldn't understand that. So what did he do? I asked him to make the change and get rid of the generic you and make it his experience. So what he did was he changed it from you all know how it felt to I was so lonely when I was stuck at home during COVID. That changed everything for the story. Everyone listening leaned forward to hear what he was talking about, even me, because this is not my experience. But I do know what it's like to be lonely. So I understood that word. And I understood this was his feeling. This is how he felt in this particular circumstance. But since I understand loneliness, I can stand there with him and imagine that feeling. Even though the circumstances are alien to me, the feeling is not. The specificity of him telling me how he felt made his story more universal. It made it something I could get behind. It made it something I would pay attention to because I get being lonely. The thing I want you to understand the most is we don't connect through generalities. We don't connect through shared experiences. We connect when we reveal very explicit, specific details about who we are and how we feel. When we tell them why we're sharing the story and why it matters to us, that brings your audience in. That includes them. Because even though the experience is not theirs, the fact that you've made it so personal, they are standing on that stage with you, experiencing your story through your eyes. Using you feels inclusive, but it's not. Using generalizations, yes, it makes you safer, but it does not make your story better. Speak from your experience. Speak from your truth. Speak from your heart. That's what's going to get your audience interested in the rest of your story. They're going to be interested in you. I mean, me? I think you get what I'm going. That's what we got here. I want you to think about this when you're talking about your stories. When you're telling your stories, get rid of this generic you. No one cares because you're wrong most of the time. If you've got any questions, if you think I'm wrong, if there's something I was unclear about, or there's something else you'd like to talk about having to do with storytelling, put it in the comments. Let me know. I love talking about storytelling. For now, adios.